Since 1961, Quartz Plumbing has offered friendly, reliable service to residences all over Bergen County, New Jersey. We are a fourth-generation family-owned business, unmatched in customer satisfaction and professionalism while working in your home. We are the hydronic heating and water filtration specialists, with a workmanship guarantee to put you at ease so you can rest comfortably. We offer financing for those big projects that catch you off guard, and we have a network of excellent contractors in all fields for any project you wish to tackle. Call our responsive office team, and we'll dispatch a handsome and educated technician to lay the smackdown on all your plumbing issues. You can also find us at quartzplumbing.com, search us on Google, or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Like, subscribe, and share, please.
Yes, folks, welcome to Plum Bums Podcast, the blue-collar tradesman show where we talk about small business and entrepreneurship in these crazy times of the new millennium. The new millennia still haven't locked down that one line yet. How are we going to say it?
I don't know.
These crazy times of the book of Revelation.
I think you've used that before.
It's such a good meme,
You've used that in one of your heated rants before.
It's so funny.
Every day is a new day.
When you look out the window, it's like, what chapter of Revelation are we doing today? I think last year was crazy for that. We had killer bees, and then what else did we have? We had killer bees that came through. And then, wasn't there another disease, like another bird flu rolling through?
Probably. I couldn't keep track of all this stuff.
In the words of Jesus Christ, you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. And however that verse finishes. But here we are, guys. Listen, it's not an easy time to run a business, I'll tell you that much. Because I know for us, insurance is killing us right now.
Yeah.
Increase in workman's comp, insurance. I talk a lot about material, but our insurance just raised our rates again. We don't even use our insurance. We don't use. I think I had
the first time we used it was, what was it, last year, right? It's the first time we used it was last year.
When did we use it last year?
Carpet replacement.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He wants to throw a punch right across.
I don't even think. I don't even think we used our insurance for that. I think we just paid out. I just think we just paid out the guy. So Max did a little mistake last year, and I'm not going to dig too deep into it because I make plenty of mistakes that he's been present for. But we have a really good cleanup guy that's been on here before, and you were doing that water meter in the dark closet.
Yeah. So the way they set it up was there's some houses.
It's always someone else's fault.
No, there's some houses in Paramus where they set, and I was talking about this with somebody, where they set the water heater, a regular 50-gallon water heater, on top on like a little stand above the water meter, inside the same closet in the boiler.
Slab. All those slab houses,
exactly,
with no basement.
In the middle of the house, and the water meter is tucked like in the back corner.
Nice and dark.
Yeah. And, you know.
You have to work on it like this. Like, you can't separate your hands. You got to get in there. So, it's the lady's fault.
I didn't tighten a union. All right.
And then overnight, she wakes up. She's like squishing through her living room. I think there's a problem. Wasn't a plumber here? She's kind of losing her mind, too. She's like, wasn't there? She calls her daughter-in-law. She's like, did I have a plumber here yesterday? She's like, yeah. Why? What's going on? She's like, my first floor is flooded. So we run over there.
Flooded was an exaggeration. It was wet.
First floor was saturated.
Wet.
Nice and damp. I got some good news for small business. That law, that I can't remember the name of it, I'm going to post it when I find it. I'll put it underneath in text on here. But that law that was forcing all small businesses who make under $5 million a year to register with the government. There was a whole new thing of regulation that the government was coming out with. It was a federal law where you had to register, and the reason was because they're trying to stop small businesses from funding overseas terrorism.
We've been a part of that, no?
Well, now that we don't have to worry about the law anymore. We're good to go.
We're not funding terrorism?
No, we don't have to worry about it. We can fund terrorism all we want. Now.
Oh.
We're golden.
Nice.
Because they're not
I've got a few in mind.
win. I mean, that was we had our accountant on here. That the freaking regulation for that was so absurd. It's all information that you already do, but they were forcing these companies, these small businesses, to like fill out all this paperwork and register, and like it was just ridiculous. But good news, it was overturned. It was labeled unconstitutional, and I actually heard about that from our friends over in Harrisburg, the Go Big Small Biz organization.
They told you it didn't go through?
They were posting it on social media. They were posting all these videos, like, you know, it's a big win for small business, thank God. But that's good. Anytime you can push all these unnecessary laws away from small business, because the small business is what drives the economy. If you didn't know, economics 101 is small business drives the economy.
It's not Amazon?
No.
And Walmart?
You would think so.
And Applebee's?
Why Applebee's?
It's like a chain restaurant because our guest owns a restaurant. So I was like, chain restaurants.
All right, fair enough. No, they do not drive the economy.
No?
Small business drives the economy, hands down. You want the economy to flourish, you elevate small business and you make it easier for them to function. And that hasn't been happening lately. It's getting tough out there, man. I'm telling you, if you want to run a small business, you got to really get into a certain mindset, because it is not easy. But is it worth it? No. Next. No, it's worth it. It's worth it to be your own boss. To not have this huge college bill over your head. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
I saw, oh my gosh, you want to talk about something? I'm seeing these videos come out where these people have been paying on their student loans for years and years and years. This one dude, he's been paying down his student loan for like an $85,000 student loan. And he's been paying it for 18 years.
Yeah, because the interest rate drowns you.
And he got they've been paying for 18 years every single month, and he's down to like $81,000.
Yeah, the interest rate is what kills people. And $85,000 is not a big bill to pay in comparison to what most people are paying for their college degrees.
It's not. I was watching this video on some of the most expensive colleges. The most expensive college per year is $87,000. I think that was some engineering college out in Cali or something. $87,000.
Listen, if you have the money, there's some people who have the money who can do it, but
even if you have the money, what's the point? If here's a controversial opinion. Here's what I think college is necessary for: engineers, doctors, lawyers, and I don't know, a 4-year college degree, engineers, doctors, lawyers. I don't mean to rag on anyone who goes to college.
I do.
But
I did it. I got into a whole heated argument with my cousins who went to college.
I mean,
none of them are working in the fields that they went to college for.
I have my little cousins they're getting old enough to go to college and stuff. And I love my little cousin. I wish her the best. But she's going to school for communications. What does that mean? What does that even mean?
Is she a good communicator? Does she know how to communicate well?
Does she need to pay $50,000 a year to learn? Just go to YouTube, How to Communicate 101.
Yeah.
That's all you need, I'm telling you.
YouTube solves everything. YouTube told me how to tighten that union in that lady's house.
Not fast enough. But listen, folks, we want to remind you guys that this show, Plum Bums, in addition to being brought to you by Quartz Plumbing and Heating, who is one of the top-rated plumbers in Bergen County. We can say this because we are Quartz Plumbing. Plum Bums is also brought to you by Promo Bros Promotional Merchandise. They make everything from stickers, T-shirts, coasters, koozies, anything you need. They do big orders, small orders. These guys are hilarious. They love what they do. It's a great company. They're out to help you promote your small business, promote your event, whatever you need. Promobros.net. Go check them out. Tell them that Plum Bum sent you. They'll give you a little bit of a discount. But promobros.net, all your promotional merchandise needs, go check them out. And we thank them for sponsoring us. And they're a lot of fun to work with.
And if you're watching this and you want to sponsor us, go right ahead. Should fill a text. an email, something. We need more. We need money.
I guess we're begging now.
I'll beg. You don't have to, but I'll do it for you.
So springtime's coming up.
Yeah, gonna start getting into remodels.
Springtime renos.
Slowing down and get into remodels, which, I mean, not crazy about. You know that I'm not crazy
You
about.
used to like them.
Yeah, because it used to be like quiet. It was quiet and nobody was like there with you.
You can park it on the job all day.
But I don't know. There's something about the service work going from place to place, job to job that I like more.
I mean, listen, you're stuck on a job all day, you feel the 8 hours. When you're driving around, you don't feel the 8 hours. But here's what we got to kind of figure out, because we have our numbers. So heating is our specialty. Boilers are our specialty, right? I have no problem admitting that. I love doing boilers. I'll do boilers all day. Heating is our season. We're not so much a renovation company because we're not so big. However, we are planning on growing and bringing some guys in. So there's a whole new number system that you work out with renos. I can't charge boiler pricing for renovations. First of all, we'd never get the job. I mean, it'd be through the roof. You're talking $2,500 per fixture at that point, which we can't do. So you got to kind of look at it like, all right, so we're going to have guys on the job for 8 full hours. They're not driving around. You're parked on the job for all day. So I don't have to worry about paying guys to drive here, to drive there, you know. So you're able to trim back your numbers a little bit, make tweaks to your renovation costs, and hopefully get some good renovation jobs, because you can make good money from them. You
can, but you do need to know your numbers a lot. It does vary your numbers a lot. Like I watched a video on with some guy who was he does new construction jobs, and he broke down the numbers. He had to fire a guy because it cost him $45 a minute. $45 a minute just for the engine at idle for one of those like tractors, you know, for one of those like excavators.
Yeah.
$45 a minute, and he would drive by his job site and he would see one of his workers at idle, like on his phone, with the tractor running.
So he's micromanaging.
And so
it costs $45 to idle that
It was
thing?
like $45 a minute.
What?
Yeah, at idle. Okay. And he drove by a couple times. He said something to him one time. He said something to another time. And the third time he saw him on his phone sitting at idle. Okay?
Did he lose his mind?
And he lost his mind. He goes, "You're done." It cost me $45 a minute for this thing to sit
See,
here.
I don't want to have to micromanage like that.
I mean, listen, I get
don't
it.
think I should.
If you give 3 strikes to somebody on the same job in, I guess, the same day. Like, if you get told once, okay, you're on your phone and you're sitting at idle. Listen, people sit on their phone at work. Sometimes, okay? You shouldn't, but people do it. Manager, boss comes over, tells you, hey, listen, you know, this is what it cost me to, you know, for you to be sitting here and doing this. If you're on your break, it's one thing. If not, you know, you got to be working otherwise. If you have to tell somebody 3 times on the same day at the same job, I think that's grounds for some sort of punishment.
We had one of those guys recently.
Yeah.
For what was it like? Was it like 7 weeks? Every week I said, listen.
He watches the show.
I wouldn't. Here's what I think is tough, because we did have a guy who came in. He was like it was half school, half work. And on top of that, this kid was a hustler. Okay, he had an after school job on top of working with us too. So this kid had a desire to work.
Yeah.
What's tough is, especially in this industry, if someone's going to come work for you, you need them to fully be here. And someone who's in school half the day, working with us for only a couple hours, and then getting to a job that actually pays his bills, it's hard to say, listen, you got to hunker down and really care about this.
Sometimes when you have like the 2-3 jobs, some people have 4 jobs, like it's not beneficial, because you kind of have to focus on your job that you're at, especially this job. You have to be focused at this job. The other place that he worked at, you know, you can kind of, I don't want to say that you don't have to be focused, but you don't have to be like really into it.
But that's where he's making his money.
Exactly. So
in the words of Jesus Christ again, you cannot serve 2 masters.
Okay.
One job.
You calling yourself a master now?
Anywho, what are we doing today?
Introducing our guest.
We are. Listen, guys, we have a staple of not only just Bergen County, but River Edge in general, a staple of Kinderkamak Road that has been in business. You said August will be 50 years in business. 50 years. Folks, we have George Siderias from River Edge Diner, the Red, as the menu says on the front. Excellent marketing. I go to the diner all the time. Me and Max are there all the time. So I'm talking to the waitress that hooks us up at the front counter all the time. She sits down, she talks. I said, listen, you know what? We got to get. How do you think the owner would feel about coming on and talking about it? She's like, he would love it. Tell him immediately. He'll come right on. She was right. But the River Edge Diner, for me, I'm going to get a little personal here, but it has been a staple for River Edge forever. I remember going there when I was a kid, young, for years, man. And not only you guys are still there, you guys are flourishing.
Thank God.
How's it been? How's it been lately?
You know, like any other small business,
you could drop the mic down a little bit.
It's had its challenges post-COVID, but you know, all in all, you know, we're blessed. Everything's good.
Yeah.
You know, we got through all the big challenges of you know, the labor shortage that we dealt with post-COVID. Yeah, and like you said, we just have our staff there, which is very unique, especially in my industry. You typically see a lot of turnover. We don't. For whatever reason. You know?
Oh, those people have been there forever.
Yeah. I mean, 80% of my staff has been with me 10, 15, 20 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really is great. And, you know, it does wonders for the business and just in your day-to-day flow and how everybody works with each other and you get to know each other, you know.
That's a testament to management right there.
Well, thank you. But, you know, I like to think of it this. Growing up, my father used to say, you know, one hand washes the other and they both wash the face. So, you know, you take care of your employees will take care of you back, and the business will be better for it.
And then one of them watches your butt crack at the end.
Pretty much.
I don't know what that means. You can take
Somebody's
that and
taking a crap on somebody, okay?
So your father, what's your father's name?
Steve.
Steve?
Yeah.
Stavros?
Stelios.
Is it Stavros?
Stelios.
Stelios?
Stelios Contos.
Stelios Contos.
Yes.
Stelio Contos!
That's great. You Greeks, man.
Yeah.
So you probably know our cleanup guy, Otto Katachis. He's another
Great
Greek.
guy. Otto's the man.
Why do they
You
know
guys-
everybody?
Because
That's another
small
father-son business.
It's yeah.
Yeah.
He brought his son in
Yeah.
business with him. Yeah.
so your father Stelios, 50 years ago, did he buy that place? Was it a diner before?
It was a diner before. So the history is a little sordid. I mean, according to Borough Hall, it was like 1945, 46, officially on record. But as we know, back in the day, like, what did you need to open up a business? You talk about business, small business regulation.
A bushel of apples
you needed
and that's
nothing,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Like you stopped at an
Right.
empty piece of land.
Yep.
You're like, here you go,
Claim.
But yeah, done. And I say that because in the 90s, you know, when I was a kid going to work with my father, and there was a guy who in the 1990s was probably in his late 80s, early 90s, and would tell me stories about when he was a kid, his father would bring him once a year on Christmas because they didn't have a lot of money. His father was a farmer in the area, which would predate the diner to, you know, the official dates on record. But officially, we know it as 1946. You know, there was a guy came back from World War II, as the story has it, and then he sold it, and they sold it to someone else, and then they gave it back to the person who sold it to them. And my father came along in 1974.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a kid. He was 24 years old.
Quartz Plumbing beat him by 14 years.
That was
61.
Your grandfather.
13 years, yeah.
Wow.
My grandfather used to live at that diner.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. He was a diner guy, though. My grandfather was Jersey through and through. But River Edge Diner has been... It's so funny. And then that renovation. So you guys, everyone has obviously seen the renovation. Beautiful renovation.
Thank you.
Nice
you guys
outside seating area too.
Yeah. The whole, I mean, how long did that take? And you did that in 2012, right?
That was 2016, October of 2016, we broke ground and we started doing the facade first because we wanted to try to like remain open as long as we can, because you always say, what am I doing with my staff? And not to say, I hate that old cliche, oh, everybody here is family. But again, when you have people working for you for 20 years,
It becomes like that.
It does. You spend more time with them than you do with your actual family.
Yeah.
So, you think about that. And I say, all right, let me try to do it that I can, remain open, kind of hybrid as long as possible. So October 2016, started the outside, the patio and all that. March of 2017, we shut down for good, like, total shutdown. And then we reopened on September 11th, 2017. So
While you were closed from March to September.
Yep.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
How'd you guys do when it was closed?
Oh, it was stressful, and as you know, being in the trades, construction always goes over.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Especially with a renovation, because
yeah.
all the unforeseen circumstances, the changes, where you were expecting to find wood, where we find metal I-beams and bringing in acetylene torches and and the scope of the project just grew tremendously. So when we had closed in March, we said, couple of months, blast it out. We'll be done in, we'll be open the end of June.
Famous last words.
Yeah, exactly. End of June, we'll be rocking and rolling, making omelets. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's par for the course with renovation. I tell customers all the time. I try to be open with customers and honest. And they're like, so, how long do you think we can get this up and running in 4 or 5 weeks? They're redoing 2 bathrooms and a kitchen. I'm going to be honestly, no.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. You're going to get contractors in here who will tell you, oh, yeah, we'll get it done. They're just trying to sell the job.
Right.
I don't like when people are pissed at me. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'll be upfront with the customer. I'll be like, this is going to take way longer. And I'm going to tell you, by the end, you're going to want to pull your hair out. But when it's done, it's done. We'll take, so I can imagine sitting there literally watching the days go by as you're just completely closed. It's tough. It's scary.
it was very scary. I had just gotten married months before we started in October. I got married in May of 2016. My wife was pregnant with our daughter. So I have a 6-7 month pregnant wife.
Yeah.
My business is in pieces.
There's no money
and I was
coming
sitting
in.
in there, and there was days where I would sit in there and I was like, why did I do this? What did I do? Why did I do this? If I found a magic genie during that time, I would have gone back and not done it.
And just went back to the original.
But you're 100% right. Whereas we opened September 11th, September 12th, I was like, it's the best thing I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, going
That's
through
probably
it.
why you don't see too many diners doing, because you don't see a lot of diners doing renovations. Most of them stay old and they keep that look.
They'll do a quick surface reno or something.
Yeah.
Right.
You guys went full tilt.
Yeah.
It's beautiful though. And that location, you can't beat the location. You have the perfect location. So you took over in 2012
Yeah.
from Pops.
Right.
How was that transition?
It was interesting. So, the whole family, anybody that's related to me, worked in the River Edge Diner.
Yeah.
The whole cousins, aunts, uncles, everybody. So naturally, as a kid, I'd go to work with my father. And he always told me, I guess he had dreams that one day, he used to say to my mom when I was like, you think he's going to take over the diner one day? My mom would say, who knows, let's see. But regardless, he wanted to set me up, use the diner to give me like the life lessons he wanted to impart on me. So he goes to me, I'm 7, 8 years old, and he pulls out a milk crate, and he goes, all right, you're going to wash dishes.
That's right.
And I would wash dishes, and him and my mother would fight. My mother would say, I don't want him touching, he's too young, catch germs, put him on the clean side where the dishes come out. Yeah. My father would put me on the dirty side. He said, don't tell your mother. Next was busboy. Next was cook. And he turned to me the one day. He says, you know why you're doing this? I said, why? He says, because any business you decide to go into in your life, I don't care what it is, you have to know everything from start to finish.
He is 1,000% right.
He said, don't you dare ever go to one of your buddies or somebody you find and say, well, you know this half of the business and I know this half, so let's open it up together. He says, no, if you don't know 100%, don't get into it.
That's a smart man.
Yeah.
He did it right.
He's a man of very few words, but when he talks, you listen, because he's just old school, formally uneducated. My father only has a 6th grade education. His education was on the streets. I mean, that was it. He left his, not to get off topic here, but he left his village.
We don't keep topics.
Right.
Just go for it.
He left his village in Greece at 15 years old.
What was the village,
Yeah, Cambia. Cambia is the name of, or Cambia would be the
Where's
Americanized. It's on the island of Chios.
Okay.
It's a small island, in the Aegean, beautiful, gorgeous. But, you're talking, my father's born 1949, post-World War II. Greece had a civil war. Poverty. You're talking about everybody was poor. They farmed you know, not even so much selling what they were farming, just to be able to eat.
Yeah.
Right, because you didn't have property taxes and this and that. You know, it was just you just needed to survive. So it was a very, very rough upbringing, and you know, my father just got tired of being poor. You know, they didn't have, the food wasn't in abundance. They ate meat only on Sundays, the holy day, right?
Wow.
So finally, he says to my grandfather, 15 years old, he goes, you know, I want to go to America. You know, I hear all these people are leaving from our village. I hear that, you know, streets are paved with gold and all this. My grandfather said, no, you're not going. And let me tell you something. My father's the toughest guy I ever met in my life. His father was tougher than him. Just the stoic,
Right.
exactly what you'd picture. And my grandmother, in those years, a wife would never like backtalk her husband or, you know.
Yeah.
And my grandmother said that's the first time I ever, because my father went to his mother, right? My grandma, he says, Mom, please, you know, I want to go to America. Help me out here with Dad. He won't budge. He's not letting me go. So she turned around and got pissed at my grandfather, wouldn't talk to him. And that crushed him. That was like his kryptonite. My father got a job on a freight ship that he knew was coming to America. And that was that. My grandfather put him on the ship,
Wow.
cried all the way back to the village, and that was it.
So your grandfather put your father on a ship, and he came here at
On a
15
freight, as an employee.
No, yeah, but
Yeah,
he
by
came over
himself.
here 15 years.
15
wow.
years old.
How much
15
money in his
years old.
pocket?
Nothing. And a funny story. So my father actually came here illegally. And in those days when the ship would pull into port, they wouldn't pay you before you got off. Because so any port they would go to, you'd be allowed, all the crew would be allowed to get off. But in America, they knew everybody in the 60s, everybody's trying to come here.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't pay you purposely so you wouldn't have your money. And you couldn't take your stuff with you. So what little clothes and stuff my father had, he couldn't take. So he's like, what do I do now? They pulled into the port of Philadelphia. The captain of the ship was Greek, but he was from a couple villages over from my father. So they pull into port, the staff's getting off. My father's walking off the ship, and the captain says, you're leaving, aren't you? My father says, no. Because at that time, if they knew you were going to leave and not come back on the ship, they would throw you in the brig until the ship pulled back out.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So my father's a kid now, 15. He goes, no, why would you say that? He goes, I know you're leaving. He goes, I'm getting the chills now. He goes, I know you're leaving. My dad says, no, I'm not leaving. So he pulls him aside. He's like, listen to me. The chief engineer was in charge of catching these guys who were suspected that they were going to not come back.
Right.
Put them in the brig.
Yeah.
And then the ship takes off. They let him out again.
Yeah.
He says, listen to me. The chief engineer sees you. He's going to grab you. He's going to put you in. And you're not getting off. He goes, get off the ship now. Run. He goes, and if you see him, run faster.
Holy smokes.
So my father's like still leery of trusting him and be like, okay.
Yeah.
And then he's going to be like, ha, gotcha.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
yeah.
So my father's like, all right. And he goes, listen, I'll round up your stuff. I'll get your bag and I'll bring it back to your father when I get back to the island. And he did. My father got off the ship.
Wow.
And then that was it, man.
Where did he go?
So
Like, what did he do?
he had an uncle who, my grandfather's brother, who said he was going to do a lot more for him than he did. So like, you know, he spoke to my grandfather. He's like, yeah, send him, no problem. I'll take care of him.
yeah.
And then my father gets here and it's like, oh, hey, good luck.
Yeah.
And he just, you know, saw a place with the Greek flag in the window, walked in. He said, hey, can I have a job? And he worked 3-4 jobs. I mean, he was he worked as a dishwasher in
Philly or in New York? Did he come to New York?
He stayed in Philly for very little, and then he went to East Orange or West Orange, New Jersey.
So he met your mother here.
Yes, he met my mom
Okay.
here. Yep.
Is your mother Greek?
My mother's Greek.
She has to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the law.
Has to be. Yeah.
It's okay. Is she from Greece?
So my mother was born here in Brooklyn, but grew up in Sparta, Greece.
Okay.
Yeah.
So good enough.
Yeah.
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 That very much so is the law. I dated a Greek girl, and her family did not like me. Not at all. Once they found out I was
Listen, until
Xeno,
now, I didn't know there were ginger Greeks. I mean, you
Yeah.
could've-
Yeah.
are there?
This is the thing. Yeah.
They don't all have like
The ancient Greeks were gingers.
beautiful black
I
hair.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny.
They don't all look like John Stamos.
Unfortunately, no.
That's an insane story.
Yeah. And then he just worked 3-4 jobs and saved up his money and bought the River Edge Diner. 24 years old.
Wow.
He should write a book.
He really should. I keep telling him that. I want to get
No,
him like
you
one
guys,
of those
you guys have to
ghostwriters.
write a book for him. That's what a lot of like kids are doing. Where their family has a story to tell, especially immigrants, and the kids have to tell the story because he's never gonna do it. He's
Yeah.
too busy with
Yeah.
his
Oh, yeah.
own thing.
There's this thing, not to get off topic again. I saw this thing around Christmas time. It was an ad on Instagram where you set up your parents or whoever, and for 6 months, they get emailed a question, and the parents will answer the question in detail, like, how did you grow up? Or, basic stuff like that. And then they get into more detailed questions and stuff, and then at the end of the 6 months, you don't get any more questions, and then 6 months after that, they mail you a book of your story.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I got to find it again. I'll send it to you.
I'd like to get
But it was
that.
pretty cool. My grandfather, my grandfather was born and raised in Ohio. Farmer through and through. He was born on the second floor of his house, very, very poor. He wrote a little book. It's like that. It's like very thin. It's maybe like 25 pages, but he wrote all about growing up and like working on the farm. It's fascinating. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Just to see the way, first of all, it's so different, like the whole culture has completely shifted.
Yeah, well, people I think are fascinated with hardship. They're fascinated with hardship because, and I don't want to knock anybody's story currently, but we don't really have it that much. It's, you grow up here, you might grow up a little bit poorer than your neighbors or whatever, but you don't like have it like your father did or his father had it.
Yeah.
It was significantly worse. I mean, they went through World War II. I mean, they went through world wars. I'm not saying that now is a great time to be, now is a great time to be working and living and all that kind of stuff, but it's completely different. Those people had nothing.
I think if your pops wrote a book, it'd be very interesting.
Yeah.
Just little stories like that are fascinating to me. But so he came over here at 15, eventually met your mother.
Yeah.
When do they get to River Edge?
So he's working in living in West Orange, buys the River Edge Diner.
For how much? Do you know how much he bought it? Do you have any idea?
He put down 30,000.
So
Yeah.
Wow,
insane.
it's not nothing.
It's not
No, in
nothing.
that time. So listen, 1974, $30,000 was a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that big, right? It wasn't.
No,
it wasn't that big.
it was a train
Yeah.
car. I mean, I have some old
Yeah.
pictures. It was a little trailer. That was
Yeah.
it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And but again, he said to me, he's like, at that time, he goes, it was just opportunity.
Yeah.
He's like, this country, if you worked, there was nobody hungry if you were willing to put in a
Yeah.
hard day's work.
Yeah.
I mean, you might have been more successful or less
Right.
successful, but you were not going to go hungry.
Yeah.
And to
Not
your
at the
point-
River Edge Diner. You're
Yeah,
not.
that's for sure. And to your point, how good we have it today. I mean, we have first world problems today.
Yeah.
We don't have the,
the water's not coming out hot enough.
But
Out of
again,
my faucet.
I'm a true believer that the times make the man. We talk about our grandparents' generation, the greatest generation. Why? Was there something magical in the water? No, it's what they went through.
That's
Yeah.
what they went through. Yeah.
They were products of their environment.
Yeah.
They went through the Great Depression, then World War II. All the men went overseas. While they were overseas, let's talk about the women at home,
Yeah.
raising the kids, running the factories,
Yep.
doing the quote unquote men's and women's job.
Yeah.
The women held it down.
Yeah.
Men go overseas, they watch their best friends get killed, their brothers, their cousins, the kids they grew up with. Now they come back and they settle into everyday life. What could bother them after that?
I know.
What could seem like an inconvenience to them after? A flat
Yeah.
tire is going to bother the guy
Yeah.
that watched his best friend get killed? You know what I mean?
You know what I really think I don't want to go on a political or, tangent or whatever, but I really think once the television got into everyone's home, that's when culture started to change. Because everyone rags on boomers. Boomers is, oh, what a boomer, boomer this, boomer that. They're the children of the greatest generation, but they're also the generation that grew up with television, There was definitely a shift, and I don't know why I'm even going off this tangent, but I think
Because you don't like boomers.
it's not that I don't. It's not that I don't like boomers. I mean, I have respect for boomers, but whatever. Anyway, let's move on.
No, I think it's hard times. Hard times make strong men and women.
And if someone especially stories from a time where we can barely relate to. That's what people find fascinating. Like your story with your father.
We talk constantly. If we had to be a plumber back in like the 60s, we wouldn't do it just because we would have to carry cast iron.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It would be too much.
10 feet of cast iron upstairs.
I'm not doing it.
But so he buys the River Edge Diner. He meets your mother. Do you have any siblings?
I do. I have 3 older sisters.
None of them were interested, huh?
Ah, so
They
you're the only
we
boy.
all worked. Like I said, everybody who's remotely related. You have one drop of Siderias blood in you, like you worked at the diner.
You have 3 older sisters?
3 older sisters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a complex right there.
Oh yeah.
So you're a Riverdale graduate.
Riverdale grad. Yeah.
What year did you graduate?
06.
2006 Riverdale. So you knew I had a co-host on here, Sal Massaro. You know him.
No Sal. Yeah.
You went to school with my brother.
Yep.
Track and field with my brother. My brother was a discus and shot put
Yeah. The best
animal.
the best.
So
But I guess when you're 7 feet tall,
I know.
300 pounds, it makes throwing the shot put a little bit easier.
He used to huff like I remember. I used to go to his track meets though. He was the most vocal.
Yeah.
When he's tossing that thing, the whole stadium hears him grunt.
But I mean, you just see him coming, and you're like, Jesus.
The other team says we lost.
Yeah.
Forget it.
I remember my dad got a letter from the principal once, and it was congratulating my brother because my brother used to be the bully beater, so he would beat up the bullies. I don't know if you knew this about him.
I have a story about that I didn't get the chance to tell you yet. Yeah.
I would love to hear it.
Yeah.
But my dad got a letter congratulating my brother because he was like sticking up for a bunch of kids or something like that.
Yeah.
You got to tell me the story.
So freshman year, we hear like there's going to be a fight behind the tennis courts. If you would come out like by the gym where the football team would work
Right.
out, and you'd go, okay. And it was a kid who's in my grade. I don't want to use anybody's names. Kid was in my grade, great kid, and the sophomores were bothering him. And these were the sophomores that like thought they acted like they grew up in the Bronx.
Gotcha.
It's like you grew up in River Ridge.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And one of the kids is picking on, this freshman. And when you're 14 and every year is huge
Yeah.
developmentally. Like a 16-year-old is
Oh, big time.
far more muscularly developed than a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
Those are the years where you
Yep.
and they go behind the tennis courts and they fight and then the sophomore, beat him up and whatever, like pretty bad. And I'm walking down there. We're like, what's this commotion? I'm like, oh yeah, we heard this. And the kid's coming up and he's like all dazed, blood, everything, and the other kid's gloating. And he goes up into the gym because he played football and so did your brother.
Uh-huh.
Goes up into the gym. 2 seconds later, the doors fly open. Both doors fly open, and here comes Dave. And I was like, oh my God. And he just goes down there. Everybody saw him coming. It just went quiet. Afterwards, everybody's chattering.
Yeah.
Seriously, it was like from a movie. Like King Kong kicks open the door or something. You just turn, and it's like on a hill, and here he comes, casting a shadow. I mean, really. And he just goes down there, and this kid's punking. Oh, yeah, gloating, chest puffed out. Like I just beat up on a kid that did nothing to me.
Right.
And your brother's like, you want to try that with me? And just totally punked this kid. Puts him on the ground with one hand. And is just like, dude, you ever do that to anybody again? He goes,
That's
I'm the next guy
amazing.
you're fighting. And just, it was hysterical. Quiet. You could hear a pin drop.
Yeah.
And he gets up. The kid was like, okay. I mean, totally.
That is so great.
Yeah.
He came to Riverdale and I think he was a sophomore, but he went through a big growth spurt. He wasn't as big as like at his last goal. He was bullied constantly.
Really?
Yeah, constantly bullied. And I guess when he came to Riverdale, he started playing football, and that just kind of kicked something in him. But that is so funny.
Yeah.
I love to hear that stuff.
Yeah.
Makes
Dave
me
is
proud
a
of my
gentle
little brother.
giant.
He is a gentle
He's
giant.
a gentle
yeah.
giant.
But so you graduated 06, went to school with my brother, which is hysterical. So you grew up in the diner, the whole diner vibe. You said you were washing dishes, doing this and that. So you 06 to 2012, you took over in 2012.
Right.
What was going on in those 6 years before you took over?
So 2006.
Was it the plan? Was it the plan for you to take over?
Yes,
and
it was
stuff?
a plan.
Okay.
It was a plan. As a matter of fact, it's a funny story my mother always tells. When they were on the way home from the hospital with me, my father's like, pulling over, and my mom's like, what are you doing? She's holding me in those years, whatever. He goes, hold him up. He goes, I'm sorry. He pulls over, and she goes, what are you doing? He goes, here, hold the baby up, hold the baby up. And she's like, what? It was November. Like, it's cold. What the hell are you doing? Go home.
Right.
He's like, hold the baby up. I want him to. She's like, what are you? He goes, just hold the baby up. So she holds me up. And he's like, George, this is going to be yours one day. You're going to take over. He's in front of the diner.
That's
And he's
great.
like, let him see. But he was serious. Like, he's not.
Yeah.
He doesn't do things like to be funny.
Right.
You know, he was genuine. He's like, I want the baby to see.
That's
yeah. Like, I was like 5
I want
days
the diner
old.
to imprint on my kid.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
his
great.
birthright.
Yeah. So, 06 comes time, you know, graduation's upon us. And my dad's like, what are you going to do? Now, at this time, I should mention, by like sophomore year in high school, and the kids like Sal and everybody that went to school, they could tell you this. I was working
Yeah.
overnights, you know, all sorts of hours. We were 24 hours back then. So I was running the diner. You know, my dad was like, hey, you know, I want you to really learn how to run it, not just, you know,
Right.
hi, how many, or this way, please.
Yeah.
Smoking or non-smoking,
Right.
you know. And he was teaching me and getting ready to graduate. And he goes, so what are you doing? As far as, he's like, where are you going to school? I'm like, nowhere. I'm coming in with you. He goes, no, you're not. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I want a piece of paper to put on my wall. He goes, I never had the opportunity to get an education. You're getting an education. I said, what am I going to do? Everything that I need, I learned from you.
Yeah.
He goes, I don't care. I'll never forget this. He goes to me, I don't care if you go to school to become an astronaut. And then you can come in and take over the diner.
He just wants that degree.
I want a piece of paper to put on my wall.
Wow.
So I was devastated. I mean, it was probably midway through senior year. I'm like, man, what? Like, why is he throwing this curveball at me? What?
Yeah.
Jesus, I didn't see this one coming. And then my mother, as mothers usually do with their wisdom, she's like, listen. I'm like, you know, Ma, help me out here. Do something. She's like, listen.
She goes, listen, the man is the head of the house, but the woman is the neck.
The woman is the neck. That's for sure. So she goes, look, he's making you go to school to get a degree, right? I said, yeah. She goes, go to culinary school.
Oh, yeah.
If you got to go to school, why not do something that you can actually use and you'll enjoy? Because I was always in the kitchen with my
Yeah.
mother, my grandmother. You know, I love to cook. So that's what I did. So I enrolled in New York Restaurant School, got degrees in American cuisine, baking, and restaurant management. So that was supposed to be a 4-year program. But my dad was like, you know, you got to hurry up. So I'm old, I'm tired, I want to retire.
Right.
He's still working.
Right.
So I finished, it was a 4-year program, but they gave you, because the culinary industry is an industry that sees a lot of change of life. I don't know what you would call it, change of career. Half my class was 18, the other half was 45.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got to get in and out when, you know, half these people have mouths to feed. So they gave you the option to just go straight through. And that's what I did. And I finished in 2.5 years. 2008. I graduated June of 2008, right before the crisis.
Okay.
Came in, started implementing new things here and there, trying to like blend the old with the new and all of that. The '08 crash hit, and I mean, things were terrible for a very long time.
They sure were.
That was anybody that was in business. I mean, every industry, every business, small business, corporations,
Yeah.
the whole country was in shambles.
Well, how was it with your father at that time? Because you come in and you're starting to implement new changes and stuff. The crash hits, and I'm sure it's not easy, especially working with your father, to start implementing new things.
Right.
Yeah.
You guys probably butt heads a lot, right?
Big time, yeah. I mean, most of those old school guys, they're very resistant to change, especially when you're doing something that works and has worked for the last, at that time, 35 years. Why would you change it?
Right.
You know what I mean? So on the one hand, I don't blame him, but then, when you're a 22-year-old kid, fresh out of culinary school, you're like, you're ready to go. You're full of fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, there was a big butting heads. That's not the right way. Yes, it is. No, it's not. And you look back now, and there was times I was right. There was times he was right. I'd say probably more often than not he was right.
Yeah.
Right.
But when you're 22, you know everything.
Right.
No, but it was all fun. It was good.
You came into that golden era, that golden year that no one will ever forget.
Now, did he fully relinquish everything to you, or is he still got his feet in it?
My father will never fully retire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We like to call him semi-retired. In 2012, a lot of butting heads going back and forth. 08, 09, 10. And plus you have the stress of what was going on. In 2012, he also co-owns the Suburban Diner with my uncles. His brother, my Uncle Mike, my Uncle Tommy, who was my mother's brother, my Uncle Nick, and at that time was my Uncle George as well. So they in 2012 decided, okay, we're going to renovate the Suburban. And I was like, all right, this could be a good thing. So my dad says to me, all right, I'm going to be up there a lot and blah, 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 blah. And he was. And I knew in the past, my dad owned 4 diners at one time, constantly renovating this one. And I knew that anytime he would renovate one, he would go there and he'd be there constantly. The man is a hawk with construction. Nothing gets by him, or anything for that matter. But so when he went up to the Suburban, he really wasn't at the River Edge much. So it really gave me room to make
express
moves.
your ideas and do whatever you want to do.
And I was doing, and he wasn't there to butt heads with him.
Gotcha.
So a year later, when he starts like really coming back, and he saw a lot of the changes that had been implemented, he was like, "Huh, okay, I guess this works."
Okay.
Yeah, he was like, "All right, yeah,
That's
cool.
an easy way to do it.
Yeah." And I got to say, where they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, I tend to disagree, because he was, so at that time, you go back 10 years, he was at 65, and then he just went from like so set in his ways and so whatever to totally changing his viewpoints on things.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he would be like, then going forward, I would say something else. He'd be like, hey, you know what? That doesn't make any sense to me, but go ahead. You know?
Well, that worked out nicely.
Yeah.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Listen, we've been talking a long time. I didn't even realize. Let's take a break.
Okay.
All right. When we come back, I want to talk about like the inner workings of that diner, your branding, marketing, how you guys deal with that stuff. And then we'll get into it on that end. But thanks for being here, man. This is actually really fascinating.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Folks, we'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break and stick with us.
Call Quartz Plumbing and Heating for top-rated service in Bergen County, New Jersey. And don't forget to keep treats for Frankie on hand.
The River Edge Diner has been a staple of the small town for generations. A long-time family-owned business, the River Edge Diner continues to provide fantastic food and a cozy atmosphere for all its guests. Come by and enjoy our lunch and dinner specials, try our homemade desserts, or enjoy a cocktail at our full bar.
Guys, welcome back to Plum Bums Podcast, the blue collar tradesman show where we talk about small business and entrepreneurship in these crazy times of 2024 now. Want to give another shout out to Promo Bros, promobros.net, promotional merchandise for all your business event needs. Check them out. Great company. They make everything from coasters, t-shirts, embroidery, printing, direct to fabric printing. What?
Where is it?
It's right here. It's all right here.
No. Coasters and shirts and this. What's?
They're en route.
Are they? Are you just trying to make me happy?
They are. The Promo Bros is on.
Send me a
merchandise
coaster. Send me a koozie. Something.
Again, shout out to those guys.
Those guys.
Those promo guys. But welcome back, folks. Thanks for joining us again. Always a good time entertaining you guys. Again, we're here with George Siderias from River Edge Diner, the Red, as the locals like to call it. Has that caught on?
It has.
Okay, good. Because it should. It makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Very marketable. So we like to talk about kind of like when we bring someone on here who owns a business, we kind of like to touch base about how you approach branding, marketing, even if it's okay. It's a Jersey diner. Okay. I understand that aspect, and you guys have the great location, almost like you don't even need to do that stuff. But what's your approach to that kind of stuff? Branding, marketing, advertising.
In what way?
Are you guys on social media? Do you guys like promote?
Oh, yeah. So we're on social media at River Edge Diner. Instagram and Facebook mostly. Didn't get into like the TikToks or the Snapchats or any of that stuff.
Well, you don't have much time left anyway from what's going on.
Yeah, pretty much. And And yeah, just try to put out some stuff just to, there's different types of diners, like you said before. There's the old school diners who are still like the greasy spoon. There's the new school diners that are doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And it just gives you a chance to reach the masses and show them, like, okay, what are we doing here? Different than other diners or whatever.
Yeah.
What's with the Greeks in the diners? What is that?
I don't know. I really don't.
Once they get into something, it's theirs. It belongs to them now.
When I read the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, great read.
Okay.
And he goes into all the stuff like this. I was really hoping there was going to be a chapter on the Greeks, and there wasn't. Wrote him an email. He never got back to me. But
We got to find that out.
I would love to find out, like, how.
What is the
why?
connection with the Greeks in the diner?
Probably food. It was the easy, it was probably a good gateway into getting with food and easy. I don't want to say easy, but it's a simple concept. A diner, it's not like a restaurant, because I've heard restaurants are very, very difficult to run and keep open.
Yeah.
A diner, I think what it is keeping it simple, keeping it good, and keeping people happy. That's why
Comfort
diners
food.
are around.
Yeah.
You know?
And that big menu. So we watch, if we're driving around the truck, a big thing that we watch is Kitchen Nightmares all the time.
Awesome. Yeah.
For some reason, while we're eating lunch, we always throw on Kitchen Nightmares. And Gordon Ramsay always says, every restaurant, why is the menu so big? Why is the menu so... But you go to every diner, you guys have everything. Like, the menu is huge.
Yeah.
How do you keep that?
So there's a secret to that. And the trick is cross-utilization. Cross-utilization means you're using the same ingredients for a lot of different dishes. And that has a big trickle-down effect, because grilled chicken. If I have grilled chicken in 50 different dishes, I'm now buying a lot more grilled chicken.
Yeah.
I am now getting a better price because I'm buying such high quantities. But that's what it is. If you look at the diner menu and it's 10, 12, 14 pages. But if you really look at it and analyze it next time you're at any diner, you're just going to see a lot of not repeat dishes, repeat ingredients.
Yeah.
And that's the key.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And when you're serving 3 meals a day, it's easy. I like easy. It's easy to keep
Simple.
things fresh.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
The only way something's going bad in a diner is if, like, they forgot to rotate the stock or whatever,
Yeah.
and put the new in front of the old. I mean, you're just serving it's a numbers game. You're serving so many people in a day because you're open for 3 meals a day.
Yeah.
So and stuff just goes, and so that's the secret.
And you guys, that parking lot's always packed.
Thank God, it's been
Always.
pretty good.
Always
It
packed.
causes more traffic than the 7-Elevens that they open up over here.
You know what? The diner traffic isn't too bad, I got to be honest. People will scoot in and out of that parking lot pretty quickly. And luckily you have the light there where people can just jump out and do that.
Yeah.
But so you graduated, so your pops forced you to go to college. You went to college, and then you took over the diner.
Right.
What was that transition like? Like, when you went in, were you like gung-ho, like, I'm going to change the world?
Yes, very gung-ho, very, I want to change everything.
Yeah.
Everything, which is a good thing that I had Pops there to, put the brakes
Reel
on.
it back.
And then as you get older and you mature and trial and error too, like, you got to let people make mistakes.
Right.
And I say today too, like, if one of my sons wants to come in the business down the road, like, I'm going to let him fall on his face a couple of times, because I think that's the best lessons.
Yeah.
And,
Learn the hard way.
That's the only way I can learn. Ask my uncle. Yeah. He tried to when I first came in.
Your uncle, you can ask me.
When I first came in, he's like, "All right, listen, you got to bounce your ideas off me." It didn't matter. I needed to learn the hard way. I needed to screw it up. I didn't believe him when he said, "No, that's not going to work." I had to do it for myself. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's. I don't know if it's like. I used to think it was a courts thing, but apparently it's just like a male thing. You just got to learn the hard way.
With age comes wisdom.
Yeah.
But so you took over, and then a couple years later, you guys were renovating.
Yeah.
Whose idea was that?
So listen, in my father's world, renovations are the lifeblood of the diner. Keep it new, keep it exciting. Get people excited to come to your place. Once it gets dreary, it's time to freshen it up. He bought the place in '74, not to go, back in history again. Bought it in '74. '78, he added a dining room on because it was a little trailer car.
Yeah.
'83 was when he made it like a building.
Yeah.
That was a massive construction renovation. There was so much involved. I mean, I don't know if he, you know, nowadays, if it was 2024, if he could have even done that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm talking about
He changed it to the
red
building
tape
that it,
government. Like, if he would have
Yeah,
even just been
yeah.
able to do
Yeah.
what he did.
What year were you born?
87.
Okay, so he did that before you were
Yeah,
born.
so 83, just this massive, massive renovation. And him too at the time. My 3 older sisters were babies, you know. He was newly married and
Right.
it's the same thing. Then 98, he did another renovation, expanded, made it even bigger again.
I remember that one. That's
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, 98 was a big one too, but not like 83. 83 was insane. 98 was a very big one. And then 2017. It was time. You know what I mean? It was time. We had been talking about it for years. And basically, I just want to. It was a good opportunity to put my own stamp on things too.
Yeah.
So things, you know, I was in culinary school, New York restaurant school, downtown, Bergen Canal. Got to see work in some of the best places in the city, you know, and just it's just ideas, getting ideas. All the restaurant guys, you know, everybody says, "Oh, he's so creative." Yes, I mean, some guys are more creative than others, but it's about, you go out and you eat a dish and you say, "Oh, this is great, but you know, I think I would like this with mushrooms instead of artichokes," or "I would like this," and it's just tweaking. We all borrow
Right.
each other's ideas,
Yeah.
and you're tweaking and saying, "I like this, I don't like that." I had a folder this thick of just pictures. You know, I'd tell my dad, "Hey, jump in the car," and we drive up to Connecticut because I saw this cool place in a magazine, this trendy place.
Yeah.
That's
And
cool.
I take a picture, like, "Hey, I like that archway. Oh, I like those columns," and just kind of, you know. 2015, sat down with the architect, and I had this giant encyclopedia that I had compiled over the course of 5-6 years, knowing that it would come to this point one day, and just said, "Hey, you know,
yeah.
this is what I like."
How long have you guys had a liquor license?
2010. So we actually bought Beamer's liquor licence. Remember
get outta
Beamer's?
here, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
We bought
wow.
their liquor license. Yeah.
What sparked that?
We'd always wanted a liquor license, and the diners started. There's a lot of money in liquor.
Yeah.
It's all profit.
Sure is.
And it enables you to do more things. You know, the thing about liquor, the funny thing is it's really, its value is intangible. And it's intangible because you can't quantify, if you got your family of 5, let's say, you just want a beer with your burger after work, right? You come in the diner, you have that beer with your wife and kids, okay? When I run my sales, all I see is that beer for $3. Mm-hmm. What I don't see, though, is that you wouldn't have come to me if I didn't have that beer to offer you.
Yeah.
And your $100 check would not have existed because of that $3 beer. So there's more value than just the $3 beer.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
So was that a big change?
It was a big change.
Was it tough to get used to?
No. It was an adjustment period because now it's like, hey, I can do more repasts.
Yeah.
Which we do a tremendous amount of repasts. I mean, you wouldn't believe it. Because now people, they just buried their loved one. They want to come have a cognac, have some wine, have a drink to remember them. And now, I mean, the amount of repasts we do is just, it's
No, I believe it.
Yeah.
Oh, you got the great dining room over there in the corner on the bar side.
Yeah.
You have the space.
It's a nice bar too.
thank you.
It
Yeah.
is. It's-
Thank you.
I mean, where are you going to go? River Edge Diner,
Yeah.
But so for as far as, I don't want to pry too much, so don't take this the wrong way.
Pry away.
But we talk about, on this show, we talk a lot about numbers.
Yeah.
And I learned the hard way. I'm trying to get him into it. I try to show him the numbers all the time because eventually,
Well, you made it very simple. You made it pretty simple.
You
With the
think so?
With the Excel spreadsheet,
well, it's
with-
simple now after all the work's done.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not taking credit for it. I'm just saying he made it simple. But I think what he's trying to get at is your dad was probably pen and paper kind of guy, all handwritten stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of what was your transition? How much did you change that aspect of it?
A lot. Everything I use in business today, on the back end of things, meaning, back of the house, office work, inventory, orders, payroll, this, that. I don't use anything that I learned in school. And that's no knock
Really?
to my alma mater. Right. From cooking, yeah, sure. I learned from my grandmother, my mother. Then I learned a ton from school. I mean, we had the best chefs in the world were our instructors in school. Some of them were taking $1 salary. They did it just because they wanted to give back
Oh, wow.
to the culinary world
Okay.
that gave them so much. So I learned a lot there. as far as the business management, most of what I learned from my father. And most of what I use today, the base came from my father. But then I expanded on it and brought it into the 21st century and the Excel spreadsheets and the,
It's up to our generation to do that.
Yes, 100%. I mean, yeah.
When I took over, not to cut you off, but when I took over, it was just Paul. Okay. He's just riding around in one truck. I go, okay, what do we have for a website? What are we doing for, like, you know, do we have some kind of accounting program? What are we doing for advertising? And he was like, well, you want to do like a Yellow Pages ad? I'm like, it's 2015, a Yellow Pages ad. What are you talking about? So it really is up to our generation to now take it, because I'm sorry, in the last 20 years, the direction that business has gone, not the older guys are incapable, but it's completely unfamiliar territory to them. We kind of grew up with it as far as the tech goes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the first time I had the internet was at the library when I was like 15 years old. But our generation really, that's all it is now.
Right.
Is electronic. It's having an accounting program. So I made sure that we found a program that every guy could use on the field. It would automatically tally our numbers. We can write invoicing right from that, because my goal is to keep this as easy as possible. The more I have to send text to a different program to print this out or do this and that, forget about it. You know, our goal is to do good plumbing and have a very easy accounting program where we can invoice right from it and all that stuff. So that was very important to me, figuring out the numbers, making sure our numbers are on point. Numbers are huge to us. And I know it's a very different industry, but how much do numbers keep you up at night?
Every night.
Every night.
As I'm
every
sure it does
single
with you
night.
too, every night. But like you said, I think it's there is just so much tech out there, apps, this, that, programs that it's just a matter of like finding, and that's sometimes is the biggest challenge, finding the correct app or software for what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably a program that's great for quartz plumbing that wouldn't be good for another plumbing business.
Right.
You know, and same thing with us. So, I mean, and when I say back in the day, I'm talking in my time, our time, 10 years ago, placing the orders, it would be, first of all, we have, my inventory list is probably 400 or 500 items long.
Jeez.
And it would be each item. You call up your one supplier. How much are tomatoes? How much are cucumbers? Okay, how much is this cheese? How much? Item by item. Spend 2 hours on the phone with him. Call the next guy.
Yeah.
And typically you want to have 3 guys. You would spend 6, 7, 8 hours.
A full workday.
Yeah.
Who has the cheapest price? I have a program now. I do my ordering in 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's...
If that.
Yeah.
That's like sipping on my coffee at the same
Right.
time, It's
That helps. That's huge. You go
yeah.
from 2 hours to 20 minutes. It saves you so much time. You can be more involved in the business and other business aspects that,
Oh, big time.
You know?
And it was just a matter of finding that software, and life changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a huge game changer. Finds the cheapest product, makes sure that I'm getting the product that I want. It's not just who has yellow cheese the cheapest.
Right.
It's who has Land O'Lakes or who has Boar's Head.
Yeah.
Land O'Lakes is the cheese to go with.
Yeah, I think so.
I'll tell you that
Yeah,
right now.
definitely.
I will buy nothing but Land O'Lakes. I don't know what it is about. I'm a big cheese guy. I love American cheese. I don't know what it is with Land O'Lakes. And now that I know you guys use Land O'Lakes, I'm in.
Yeah.
Not that I wasn't before.
It's
We're literally
there
at your
every
diner
day.
twice a week.
You're there almost every day. He always asks for lunch. He goes, "You want to go to the diner?" Or in the morning, "You want to go to the diner?"
the
the
staff
diner.
loves you guys.
Yeah.
Well, you know why? Because I like in the morning, especially like when you're halfway through the work week, you have this whole list of jobs, and you're like, I'm not ready to start.
I
that
need
yet.
some time for
I
myself.
need a.
Let's go to the diner.
I need an omelet. So what are the plans for the future? I mean, where's it? Without going again, I don't want to pry too much in your business plan or stuff
you're
like
not
that.
prying
But
at all. You can ask
5
anything you
years
want.
from now, 10 years from now, what's just to keep trucking or?
Keep trucking. Yeah. Keep
Yeah.
trucking. Stay on top of things. Grow the business as much as we can. Always trying to stay on top of like the new dining trends or create a new dining trend. You know what I mean? Like what's new, what's exciting, you know, I don't want people to come to the River Edge Diner just because it's the closest one to them. I want you to drive past 2 other diners to get to me. You know what I mean? And how do you do that? Well, you got to give something that the other diners aren't. And, you know, that's always the challenge.
I think what our kitchen nightmares experience is that he always says, like, with all these fancy restaurants or the new trends or whatever it is, he goes, you can do minor updates, but everybody loves when you keep it simple.
Yeah.
And I think that's what everybody loves about a diner, is that it's just simple. You might have, you know, you might do updates to the building that everybody likes, but a diner is just, it's a staple of the area, and it's simple food, and people love that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what keeps everybody
You know
happy.
what? Also, and this is speaking from someone who grew up in that diner, grew up in this area. My grandfather frequented that diner all the time. It's going in there and having that like small town feel. Yeah. Even though this is Bergen County, it's the most populated area. Everyone's spread out so far, but like having your local diner. Like we walk in there all the time, and the waiters and waitresses say hi to us and everything.
Yeah.
That's like important. It may be like menial to them, but it's like our diner.
No, it also makes a big difference. Like what he said, when you pass 2 other diners to get to my diner, is true. I like the River Edge Diner. I only started going there when I started working here, because I didn't really know about it. I didn't know about this area. But my favorite diner is also one that you owned. Me and my parents go there probably once a week. The Suburban Diner.
The Burbs, baby.
You know, that's our favorite, but that's right by my house.
Awesome.
You know,
I got to let my dad and my uncles know
that's
that.
my-
Yeah.
it's
So we're
my
just
favorite
lining your
diner.
pockets every
Yeah,
time.
I mean, it's great. Keep it coming, baby.
No, it is, but there is a difference in the diners that you go to.
Yeah.
We've been to other diners where like this stinks. I don't like this.
I don't want to name names, but
Yeah, I'm not
we'll
gonna
name it off
name
camera.
names, but
Yeah, a lot
I
of the
just-
diners, Jersey diners, you know, the owners got older. That train's moving. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? This isn't a business that you build credit in. It's not, say you buy a building, an apartment building. Well, after a while, 20, 30 years, the building's paid off.
Yeah.
So now your kid comes into it and it's like, yeah, here you go. Like the
Yeah.
building's paid off. Collect
Yeah.
the check, stay on top of it. You know, not to trivialize. I know that is a very,
Of course, yeah.
but it is a business that you build, I want to say, credit in. You have, you know, in the diner, you're only as good as the last meal you served. So I don't care if you've been, my dad's been there 50 years, that's great. If I went in there and didn't stay on top of things, it's not going to last.
yeah,
100%.
Well, a lot of
And,
people ruin their parents' business, but
Yes. My father, you know, I always say, you know, very fortunate, you know, he really just gave me such a head start just in life and wisdom in just everything. He started from zero. And I said something to him one day and he says, you know, a lot more kids got it and lost it than got it and kept it going.
yeah,
That's
it's not
very
easy
true.
to keep it going. So when people get something passed on to them, people say, "Oh, he got it passed on to him, so you know everything will be fine. He's set, whatever."
Silver
it is."
spooner.
Yeah,
yeah,
But it's so difficult to keep it going that it's a testament to what you've done to the diner.
Listen, I can tell, just talking to you right now, I can tell in your attitude, the way you talk about the business, I can tell that he put you to work as a kid. He made you appreciate the business.
Yeah.
My grandfather did that with us too. When we hit 10 years old, the boys were going out with grandpa in the field.
That's awesome.
He would take us out. He would always take us to the diner all the time.
Yeah.
Always at River Edge Diner. But as soon as we were able to
Hold a wrench.
hold a wrench or even like clean fittings and stuff, he's like, all right, let's get them working. Let's get them working. And now, like, I don't see kids. Everyone had an after school job when I was growing up. Everybody went to work after high school. They had some kind of income. I don't see kids working at all anymore.
Yeah.
You're right.
It's tougher for you to find younger people, right? Like you
Oh yeah,
said.
the diner in the summer times, the diner used to be loaded with the local kids.
Yeah.
Now nothing. Nobody.
Nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it.
I don't know either. I've tried to figure it out. I have a few different theories. I don't know. Are these kids today more spoiled? Like, are the parents just giving them money? See, like with our parents, we had to earn it. And,
Yeah.
and don't get me wrong. Like, I never wanted for anything. I don't know what it is to be hungry. I don't know what it is to not have something that I needed, whether it be for school or for an extracurricular activity. I played ice hockey. I had the best stick, the skates, but my father made me work. So it's like, if that stick cost $100, I knew what $100
You
meant.
knew what it meant. Yeah.
Because I just busted my butt in the kitchen, you know, for 4 hours on Saturday washing dishes, you know, and I made 15
Yeah.
or 20. So
He
it's
can
like,
buy
oh,
it for you, but he's going to make you buy
He's
it.
going to make you buy
correct.
it.
Yeah.
Correct.
Do you still play hockey?
Not anymore.
Not at all?
I was playing in the adult league until my kids came along, and then it's just
And that's it?
yeah.
That's the best sport.
I love it.
I'm sorry. That is the most fun sport to watch.
We're at the Ice House over in Hackensack.
Ice House. Yep. I was in skates since I was 3 years old.
Really?
Yeah. The issue is at the end of it, you know, the men's leagues or the beer leagues as they call them, the games are at 11 o'clock at night.
I know.
So after being at the diner for 12 hours,
Yeah.
it's like, do I really want to
Yeah.
go
Not at
there?
all.
Yeah.
My kids are waiting for me at home. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just,
That's a great sport, though. We don't get winters like that to play on like lakes anymore.
I remember going to the pond.
I know. Like, what has it been, like 10 years since actually anything's frozen around here?
Yeah.
What's
Or
going on?
The fire department would go fill up the pond, and we'd be playing pond hockey. Our high school coach would ream us out. 'Cause he'd be like, you know, you guys are you know, sucking wind on the ice, because he knew we were playing pond hockey all day before our game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Riverdale had a hockey team, or did
Oh,
you have
yeah.
to go out? I didn't know that.
Riverdale's one of the oldest hockey teams in the state, hockey programs in the
What?
state of New Jersey. Yep.
I didn't know that.
Started in the 70s, the 1970s. So my coach, the last 3 years of high school, my coach, Brian Sharkey, awesome guy. He was a great man, great hockey player, and just a great coach. He's like, you know, just one of those guys that would like talk to you about life and just kind of
Yeah.
give you lessons and stuff. He was one of the original players for Riverdale in the 70s.
Wow.
I can see that. Riverdale's a jock town. A lot
It
of
is,
football,
yeah.
hockey, wrestlers,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah, but it was a great town. You're right. Even today, where it's Bergen County, we're like the 6th borough of New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
New York will never admit that,
Right.
but it's true.
They hate us for it.
Yeah.
River Edge and Oradell still, to this day, have as much of a small town feel as you could have. in
100%.
2024.
Yep.
I totally agree.
And I love that.
Yeah, me too.
I really love it. You know.
We have a lot of our customers. I mean, there's a lot of transplants that are coming over here now. And I tell them all the time, I'd be like, listen, River Edge and Oradell, they don't leave. Great schools. This is the place to be. I mean, you're close to everything, but you still have that hometown
Still see
feel.
kids walking around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kids walking around,
Riding
which
their
is
bike. I
something-
love
yeah.
to see that.
Yep.
After the football games, we get slammed.
Yeah.
It's
Do you?
10 o'clock at night, and we'll just get slammed. And I love it, dude. And some of
Yeah.
the parents sometimes, they're like, oh, we're sorry, you know, put us in, we'll try to keep it down. We're like, no, don't try to keep it down. Let the kids have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is awesome. This is like a rite of passage.
Yep.
It is true.
You know, I can't tell you when you talk about, you know, my father being at the diner 50 years, your grandfather going there. You know how many kids that, like, my dad put them in the high chair when they were little?
That's so funny.
And now they're coming back with their kid. Like, they're old now.
I tell you, people, you talk about that, and to some people, be like, "Oh, that's cheesy. That's cheesy." And that's not cheesy to me. That's like, that's very, very important and special to me.
I would have thought it was cheesy if I had never experienced that.
Yeah,
You know, like having a guy come up to me, a guy who's, you know, his hair is all gray,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, I remember your dad when he used to give me the big chocolate chip cookies, which we still make 50 years later. And at the end of the meal, and your dad would tell me if I would eat all my food, he'd give me a chocolate chip cookie." This guy's 55 years old and he still remembers it. You know,
I hear.
Still wants a chocolate chip cookie at 55.
there is something cool about it, almost like a Hallmark movie. Like,
Yeah,
oh, come on.
exactly.
It really happens. It's nice.
I hear. I mean, and he hears it too. Like, oh, I knew your grandfather. I knew Rich back
All the
in the
time.
day.
People
All
stop-
the time.
Stop
all
the
time.
truck.
Well, I mean, Quartz Plumbing is
It's a staple.
Yeah.
River Edge Diner, Quartz Plumbing, staple. You can't go wrong with
It
both.
is.
So let me ask you this, because the point of we started this show, the reason we started this show was to get guys, young people coming out of high school, or people who are floating around, they don't know what to do. Like, do I go to college? Do this? Like, we started this show to try to encourage younger people to get into the trades. And then it kind of snowballed from there. So we have a bunch of guys who have been in a ton of different industries, men and women, who we're trying to be like, listen, you have the opportunity. You don't have to go to college. You can go out, start a business, do this. This is how you do it. And I know restaurant business is a tricky one to get into. It's a very high risk business. But what would be your advice to a kid who loves to cook, or he loves food, he's into like, eventually he would maybe want to start his own. Like, what would be your advice for someone graduating high school? What should they do?
Who wanted to eventually own their own business?
Or just get into the restaurant business, or, you know.
Find someone who's successful. My dad used to tell me when I was a kid, he'd say, you're not going to make money with anybody who's not making money. Find somebody who's successful. Find a place that's been around a while. Find a place that's good, that people go to, that's got longevity. It's been there for 20 years and it's going to be there for another 20, and go work under them. And when you get there, you know, work harder than anybody else.
Yeah.
Show that guy that, you know.
Treat it like it's your own.
Right.
Yeah.
Treat it like it's your own.
That's what my father used to always say.
That's your father was spot on, and they're going to take notice of that. And,
it's true.
You know, I can't tell you how many places today that the owners worked for it in the diners or restaurants.
Yeah.
That the owners worked for it. How many of my father's friends who still own diners to this day, or their sons took over now, that they were dishwashers in those diners.
Yeah.
But when the old man, whoever the old man was at that time, that was wanted to retire, he's like, "Hey, look at this kid, man. This kid's unbelievable. Look
Yeah.
how hard he works. It's just like, kid's a soldier. Hey, kid, come here. You want to make some money? You know,
It's hard to
And
find
they would
nowadays.
they would hold the paper for them and say, "Hey, kid, here you go. You know, take the chicken. The first dozen eggs are mine," type of thing. And that, you know,
That's actually a good analogy. I like that. I never heard that before.
I'm not saying that it's always going to happen, but you will learn a lot. Just like I learned from my father. It doesn't have to be your dad. You know, if you go work for as an apprentice to the best plumber in the state, you're going to learn a lot of tricks, right? Same thing with the restaurant industry.
Well, you say it too. Instead of trying to figure out and go to college because that's what you're supposed to do, just go work somewhere.
Work. I always say
Just try an industry.
work. If you don't know what to do, find a job, work, and even if you don't like it or you don't want to be in it anymore, you find out what you don't like. And that's just as important as finding what you do like. Because when you find what you don't like, you kind of navigate through and you say, "Oh, okay, I don't like this. I'm going to go try this."
Yeah.
When you're just kind of screwing around at school, at college, and in my personal opinion, it's a waste for most people for 4 years to party and drink and do things that don't really matter. You know, you could be using that time to find what you don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that in the service industry, which includes the trades, I think that you can learn every single life lesson.
I
Yeah.
totally agree.
And again, like with my father, working in the diner would have prepared me for anything that I would have
Yeah.
gone to do. Talking to people,
Yep.
numbers, consistency.
100%.
watching- What business is that not the winning formula?
Yep.
Being personable, watching your numbers, being consistent, giving a good product.
Yep.
I
That's a
think
winning
people in
formula
the
for
restaurant
any
industry
industry.
have a leg up.
But
in
I
all
think
of
it's
the
even
industries.
you guys, you know. It teaches you hard work,
Yeah.
how to talk to customers, how to sell, how to, price things out enough to where you're going to make a profit, but, they're not going to go to the next guy to do.
Right.
You got to find that sweet spot. And again, that's the industries might change, but the formulas pretty much, they all share the same formula.
Yeah.
And it's, there's a lot of life lessons there. So
I've had a lot of different types of jobs. A lot. I worked for a pool place. I was building swimming pools for a while. I was running.
You worked in the restaurant
I was
industry.
running swimming pools. I was in retail, but I worked in the restaurant business for a long time in my early 20s, waiting tables, bartending. That definitely taught me a lot that I still use today.
Yeah.
Especially with customers, especially with customer service,
He's a smooth talker.
especially with time management. A lot of stuff that you pull from the restaurant business. I'm with you. I think everyone should work in the service industry for a little bit.
yeah.
Whatever you're going to get into, just work maybe a year or two in the service industry when you're young.
Yeah.
Just to get a taste, And I think
I don't
that's
think
smart.
anything bad can come from it.
No, not at all.
When I look now, my kids are little, a girl and two boys. And I talk about it with my wife and my dad and my mom. We say, "Oh, the boys come in." Since COVID, the industry really changed. Where my dream used to be like, well, I hope at least one of my, I don't know why I say the boys, my daughter too. I mean, but I say, I hope.
Well, your daughter has to go get married and make babies. That's
100%.
that's
and I'll buy her the house next door.
Right, exactly.
That's right. You know, and I used to say, oh, I hope one of the boys. Now I don't really feel the same anymore. If they do, I would more than be
How
more
old
than
are they?
happy to get. They're really young. I mean,
Really
they're 4
young.
and 3. They're almost Irish twins.
Okay.
You know, but you just think ahead. You know,
Yeah,
you
of
sit and
course.
You look, and what are they going to become? What are they going to be? You know, but regardless what happens, they will work in the diner.
Yeah.
100%. I don't care if they tell me I would never take this over. Good.
Yeah.
You're going to work.
I used to say that I was a kid. We would always get paid a couple bucks, so it was like, yeah, I'll go out with Grandpa. But I used to always say, I'll never do this. I will never do this. And here I am.
Yeah.
I'm the oldest grandson. I'm the firstborn grandson out of 15 or 16 or something like that.
It's
So
your
I was
destiny.
the oldest one. And I used to always say, I'm sitting there cleaning fittings. I'm never going to do this. This sucks. Plumbing sucks. And then he would take me out, climb up on a ladder. I'm covered in like PVC glue, you know, and here I am, you know. So, hey, I was going to ask you, like, when are you going to start? At what age are the boys coming in, do you think?
I would say 8, 9 years. Well, they come to work with me now, you know. Come to work with me.
Of course.
I'll bring them into the bakery.
Yeah.
We have the full
Yeah.
bakery downstairs. So I'll bring them into the bakery. Hey, let's make a cake. And we'll make a cake. You know, I'll take out like a separate little table.
Right.
All separate stuff. So he can just go nuts and do his thing. You know, to actually have more, probably like 8, 9 years old.
Yeah.
I'll bring them in. Teach
That's
them the
good.
money, you know,
Good.
the registers, stuff like that, you know.
By the way, people love to see that,
Yeah.
especially at a diner. People love to see that. If your kids come in and especially as a family, people will love to see that.
100%.
And listen,
People eat that up.
age does not matter. Experience does.
Yeah.
I was 16, 17. I was working overnights.
Yeah.
I would work overnights, you know, 5 at night, 5 p.m., you know, get out of high school Friday night, 5 at night till 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, you know.
You
And
Greek-
it was a lot of fun.
You Greeks with that work ethic, man.
Yeah.
I've got to figure that one out. Anything else you want to send our faithful listeners off with? We're gonna plug the diner, of course, and we're gonna put all your socials on the screen. But any events coming up? What are you guys doing over there? For
You know, we have
for the
our
holiday
50
coming up?
year we have our 50-year anniversary coming up this August, so be on the lookout. There'll be something coming up.
That's huge.
Yeah, definitely got to commemorate that one. And yeah, other than that, you know, just check out our social media. We're starting a lot more lately to really posting, you know, just keeping everybody up to date,
Yeah.
new stuff, and just the biggest thing I would say when you come in, don't be afraid to try other things. You know what I mean? You don't always get the burger. Get something, order something that you wouldn't order from a diner.
Oh, I love your burgers.
And if you
though.
don't like it, tell me, and I won't charge you for it. People come in, they say, "Oh, salmon at a diner."
I'm that guy.
We buy the same. Yeah, guess what? 3 nights a week, I'm eating my salmon.
Yeah.
we buy the same salmon that some restaurants do.
Yeah.
That
Ah,
most
see that?
restaurants do.
Yeah.
You know what the difference is? They charge you 80
They
for
charge
it,
you a
and
lot,
we're
yeah.
charging you 22.
Yeah.
You know, but again, it's hard because, especially you find this more in America than as opposed to Europe. We eat with our minds first. We have preconceived notions, and it's hard to break those.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Because of that reason, if I do something out of the ordinary at the diner, I don't want you to come in and say, yeah, you know what, I'll have the salmon. I'll get a little crazy. And then say, why did I do that? I want you to be like, holy crap, wow, it's so good.
Yeah.
And tell everybody you know.
Yep.
So we order, I mean, the ribeye. My ribeye is the same as, I don't want to say any names, not the one that everybody would think of, but there's a very well-known steakhouse in Edgewater. Again, not the one everybody would think of, a different
Okay.
one. That same ribeye as me. We
I
use
can
the
see
same
that.
supplier. Difference is he charges triple the price for it.
Yep.
But
'Cause in
if
Edgewater.
I didn't tell you that and I took you to his, oh wow, this is great. But then you come by me, you might say, oh, it's just
It's a mind
preconceived
thing,
notion.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I
it definitely
gotcha.
is. But
George, thanks for being here, man. I really
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
having me, guys.
A lot,
It's
of, fun. It was
Yeah.
almost, I don't want to say it was a fluke because I've been hitting up every River Edge and Oradell business, but I'm so glad you came on.
Yeah.
thank you.
Again, you can't beat the staple of the River Edge diner for people who have grown up in this area. I hope you guys are there for another 50 years for sure.
Thank you. God willing, we will be.
And we'll be getting breakfast
As
twice
will
a
be
week.
Quartz Plumbing.
Yeah. We'll see, hopefully.
Yeah.
I got no boys to bring up though. That's the problem. I gotta hope he takes it over and keeps the last name.
I would keep the last name for sure. There's no
You
reason.
say that now.
It's going to be in the.
First of all, I have
It's
the-
going to be in the contract.
First of all, I have the worst last name to put on any business. There's no way anybody's calling up my last name for the business.
Nobody can say it.
Exactly. It was butchered constantly in high school.
We'll see how it goes. But guys, thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to go check out the River Edge Diner. Great food, great atmosphere. You can't beat it. Great locale. George, thanks again for being here. We had a blast.
Thank you, guys. This was awesome.
Folks, remember to like, share, subscribe, share the videos. We have plenty of good guests coming up, so make sure you share the reels. Again, we want to give a shout out to promobros.net for all your promotional merchandise needs. Quartz Plumbing, once again, of course, we're always sponsoring the show. Quartz is getting into some renovations right now, and as always, we're there for your general service and stuff like that. If you guys are interested in being on the show, if anyone knows, or if you are, or you know anyone who owns a business or a really cool industry, we'd love to have you guys on as a guest, especially if you're in Bergen County. You're going to go to quartzplumbing.com. You're going to click the podcast link and just follow the directions for the application down there. We'd love to have you guys on. It's a blast. Right, George? You had fun today?
Awesome.
Good.
Awesome. No pressure. Real cool. It's not
Very cool.
I was a little nervous before today, I'll be honest
We
with you.
have a couple drinks beforehand, if you got to loosen up. But feel free to, we encourage you to tune in next time. Again, we have a weekly show. We have a ton of good guests coming up. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you here next time.